Um, how do you, this is from Robin Hibbler, just transitioning a little bit. This goes back to our earlier question. How do you choose a running shoe that is appropriate for your runner? And what do you look for in their current shoe to guide your decision? I know you're probably just going to say, hey, go to Boulder Running Company. But that was the best thing you ever told me was just go there and get fitted. But tell me how the process works at the Boulder Running Company and why it's so effective.
Yeah, that's a fascinating thing to look at. If you look at the research, and that's what's so good about the Bolden Running Company. When Suzanne was here for her weekend, she had her eye on a specific type of shoe, and she went to the store and she put on similar shoes to that. Some of them worked more effectively, some of them didn't, and then the one that she wanted was slightly off, and in that way you cut down your averages until you get to a shoe that you like. But the research is phenomenal. Just know that generally speaking, a shoe that instantly feels good with you. You two are simpatico the minute you put them on and you get on the treadmill. And the beauty at the Boulder Running Company is they don't make you just run on a treadmill. When you get down to close to the shoes you want, they'll let you go out the door and run upwards of a half a mile in the parking lot with those shoes on, just to make sure that they work for you. And so research has shown that a pair of shoes that works for you, even though it would seem theoretically that it doesn't work for you, is probably the right shoe for you. And then the other thing to look at is, in terms of support and so on, is go with the least possible shoe that you can wear. And some of us need to wear quite a lot of shoe, to take care of our knees, to take care of our hips and so on. But wear the least one. So you normally have a range of support, or a range of neutral, or a range of barefoot shoes, and go to the one that you manage with best. And if you are transitioning from a shoe with a high heel drop, let's say you've got 11 or a 12 or a 13 millimeter drop from the heel to the forefoot, and you want to experiment with some low drop shoes, don't go the whole way. Don't go straight away to a 4 millimeter drop shoe or a 0 drop shoe. Transition halfway across and pay attention to what else you're wearing during the day. So if you work in a corporate setting and you have to wear reasonably high heels, and you run in a shoe with a big heel, make sure that you don't go straight away to a New Balance Minimus or something like that that's going to have a very low heel.
Mm-hmm. Kevin, do you have any comments on shoes from an athlete's perspective? It's unfortunately for me, it's not always the best looking one that works for me. But what do you do?
Kevin's microphone's gone out.
Yeah, I think I'm having a hard time hearing him. Kevin, we'll come back to you on a question there. Okay, so the next question, Bobby, is from Kenna Ford, our expert. She says, with regard to recruiting, spotting potential run talent, this is a coach question, what are some of the keys you look for or observe? Short distance, run speed, good natural form, body type, etc. If you're out there looking for talent for USAT or just for a running squad in general, what do you look for? And is it different for runners versus triathletes?
That's a great question, Kenna, because all of the things that you mentioned are very valid, as well as some other things. So you definitely want to look at, in triathlon, if you're a triathlon coach, you definitely want to look at an athlete that is not a pure swimmer type body, short legs, very hypermobile feet, and a long upper body with a lot of upper body musculature. But of course, it all depends on how that athlete comes to you. Any type of athlete can learn how to run. The other thing I look at very much is how they move athletically in a horizontal position. In other words, how do they do things? How do they do a lunge? How do they do a stride? How do they do a hop? And how do they run? And then one of the tools that I use is looking at very short distances, like say 200 and 400 meters, and then extrapolating from that, whether they have the neuromuscular capacity when they double up and double up and double up till they get to the 10K or the half marathon or whatever, if they fit in with that whole concept of their fatigue curve, how much do they slow down? So clearly, if they have a lack of capacity to move really quickly over the shorter distances, that will be impacted by fatigue as they get longer and longer. And as I said in a previous chat, that if you took somebody like Usain Bolt and you looked at his fatigue index, which is higher than 10%, and you would notice that he wouldn't even be a remotely effective 1500-meter runner, never mind 800. 800 is already way beyond his capacity, but he'd be a very effective 400-meter runner. So it just goes to show. So one of the two things is they either be very fast with a higher fatigue index, sort of around about the 6+% mark, and you'll get a lot of beginners that will have 25-30% fatigue index from their 5K to their 10K, and that just points to lack of conditioning. Or you might get an athlete that's not quite that quick, but they have a very slow rate of slowing, a very low rate of slowing, in the 2 to 3% range. In other words, they're going to run very close to their 10K speed when they run 5K. Those athletes also can be very successful. So those are good things to look at: body type, and then very much look at attitude. The kind of personality that does well in these endurance events is very different to an athlete that does well in, say, ball sports or explosive sports.